All right, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Geopolitics and Conflict Q&A session. We look forward to answering some questions, right?
And we previewed some of the questions, and they are really punchy.
I know.
Wow.
Just to let you guys know, some of our viewers already sent in the questions, which was good. Doggies are happy too. it's the holiday season.
Right.
It's the end of the year, so we look forward to interacting with you guys. But before we get into that, we want just to let you know about our local page that now we have that up. So please check it out. Check us out at geopolitics.locals.com. There's the website for it there. And we also check out our membership at geopoliticsinconflict.com. Speaking of membership, we're going to be doing presentation for our members right after this session.
And we've got some really punchy stuff coming in the new year for our members. As you know, it's things that we cannot put on this channel. And from what we can tell, it's things that other people aren't actually talking about that we think you need to know. And some people call it controversial. I say it's reporting the truth.
Exactly. Well, there's nothing better than the
coming.
truth.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I was going to say, just there is nothing better than the truth.
Oh, that's right. Nothing better than the truth. Yep.
Yeah. So we look forward to having you into that. Almost, as always, remember to follow me on Twitter at @dwaralu, Elizabeth at Alchemy of E, and also follow us on TikTok and Instagram.
That's quite a few.
Yeah. Well, thank God.
Well, we're easy to follow.
Well, wait a minute. You said there's too many. Yeah. Well, guess who's managing all this behind the scenes? Because
Elizabeth.
It takes a lot of work. Yeah, guys, we want you to know that this is no easy task. Now that, at least for us and I, from this end sitting here, some people will say, well, we have no clue, but you won't believe the amount of work that goes into putting all this together. As a matter of fact, one of our viewers, I have the comments. I send it to you. Email it.
Oh, yeah.
He said, you know what? I know, guys, what takes for this to happen. I know what you guys put in behind the scenes, all of you. So I want just to let you know. So your means a lot to us. So subscribe if you have not done so already. And we're going to be launching into the questions without wasting time here. So, all right, let's go with the first question.
Please put question in front of those.
Yeah, please. When you ask a question, just put the word question so we know it's a question, not a statement. And we go from there. So that will be great. I look forward to the sessions here.
Oh,
all right.
There's a wire in the way
here. There we go.
Just read that Nicaragua kicked Taiwan embassy out and installed the China embassy. How will this affect the region? Middle and South America.
Oh my gosh, that's a big one, Ross.
It's a good one
because
too.
This one also has to do with the election of new president in Chile. It has to do also with Panama Canal.
Oh yeah,
because China is investing there. Also has to do with Argentina demonstration against IMF, that stuff. So yes, this is a big time because Nicaragua was going to be thinking in terms of infrastructure,
right?
And China, that's one way for them to sort of meaning Latin American countries, to consider and think in terms of China's investments in Latin America. And I bet you this: if things move forward with the Panama Canal, and China puts in enough investments into that, most of other Latin countries is going to move forward the same path, because they never had anything when the U.S. was there. So
there's a lot of news behind the news, but that's not our show today.
Exactly.
Let's go on to the next question.
All right. Well, we're gonna wait for the next question here, and but it's gonna be changed a lot in Latin America, so we're gonna come into that. All right. Our next question is
Zain Mir.
Zain Mir, you got it.
Okay. If the Iran nuclear deal is abandoned by all signatories, do you think Israel would strike Iran's nuclear facilities? What would be the implication on the geopolitical for the region?
That's an incredible question, and I happen to know a little bit about that. Not because I wrote the book about it, but that's my academic background, and also spent time in the Middle East when I was working on behalf of the U.S. government at the time. So it's a big deal. First of all, Israel will not be able to attack. a review just been released this morning, as a matter of fact, by Israel Defense Minister, and they found out that they can't get into a war with. They cannot attack Iran because they will have to engage from multiple fronts. They don't have the capabilities to do that. Second thing, the United States delayed the delivery of some fighter jets to Israel.
I think there's a story there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which means what? The U.S. doesn't want Israel to move forward. And I do believe personally, and this is my personal opinion, knowing what I know, is that Israel won't be able to do it alone. They just don't have the capabilities to. This is not about just flying an F-18 or F-16 or whatever. No. It takes a lot of stuff, including the fueling in the air and all. Israel doesn't have all that. So the U.S. kind of, by delaying the delivery of the fighter jets, it's sending a message to Israel that don't think about it. So I don't foresee that. And the nuclear deal, whether it moves forward now or not, it becomes to Iran, whatever, because they are moving east with Russia and China.
Right. Thank you, sanctions from the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
18 U.S. officials have applied for, pardon me, I just find this hilarious.
I know.
18 U.S. officials have applied for visas to come to Beijing Olympics. Is this U.S. breaking their own word on an official boycott? Or is it Biden that is having a dementia attack?
Yeah, I know it's not laughing matter, but you got a point there. A good question. As a matter of fact, one of our viewers commented on this exactly by sending this about 2 days ago. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. That's almost a double face for the U.S., which is bad from a diplomatic protocol, because this is now sending a message on the international stage, like, here we go again. You're saying one thing and doing another. So the U.S. almost like couldn't take stand. So take stand and follow through. So if the U.S. said, we're not going to send anybody, then don't send it. Can't come back like this, because this is very bad for the U.S., not China. Second, China did not invite the U.S. So it's kind of, okay, what's the point?
Yeah.
So the U.S. is putting itself in a bad position politically, or when it comes down to the protocol of how, it doesn't send a good message on behalf of the U.S.
You talk about things that keep eroding the confidence that people have in the United States government.
And this is
Here it is. Here it is again.
Yeah.
Ariel, do you think low Earth is becoming a geopolitical theater, given China incident with SpaceX? That's the question, Liz.
I'm not following the question.
I'm not either.
Yeah, the question is not clearly, so I can elaborate on something I do not know.
Ariel, repeat it or reword it, and we'll ask again.
Yeah, do it again, Ariel. We'll answer it.
All right.
Manji, Israel just bombed Syria. How did they know that they don't bomb the Russian? Why do the Russians say nothing about this, since Syria is a Russian ally?
Well, then, in international relations, just because you're an ally doesn't mean, is there a treaty between Syria and Russia? No. Military one? No, it's not. So this is why Russia is not going to say anything, because it's not their territory. First. Second, what Israel bombing, probably bombing some la la land in Syria that has no significance. Just remember, in international, as I always say, context matters. Is the message that is sending, oh, we bombed something in Syria. Dare Israel to bomb, let's say, a Russian, an SU, fighter jets, whatever, in Syria. They won't be able to do that, and they will not do that, because they know what the consequences will be. So this is nothing but a smoke screen, because yes, they did bomb some targets in Syria, but those are insignificant. So I don't see. It's because, remember, when it comes down to one of the reasons why Israel will have to think twice about attacking Iran, because they will have to deal with multiple fronts. That's why when they did the study, they found out that they won't be able to, because Syria is going to become a next front.
Yep.
Lebanon is going to become a next front. any areas around the Persian Gulf is going to become next front. So can Israel manage all this alone?
Probably not.
No. So
Bus God. Okay. Cuba has just signed a cooperation agreement with China. You're right. Belt and Road Initiative investments. Can you speculate on how the American political class will read this strengthening partnership?
that's very significant, Ross.
Yeah.
It will mean a lot from the American perspective in terms of what does it mean. The big concern I can share with you guys that the U.S. will have is if China moves some military assets to Cuba. That's going to be very significant. We're talking about even listening posts.
Yeah.
Because Cuba was known for having those pertaining to Russia or Soviet Union at the time.
You're right.
What prevents China from having one there? Hey, it's Cuba that is inviting that. That will be the only thing. The other thing is the U.S. will be concerned for Cuba becoming the model for Latin American countries.
As well, they should be concerned.
Yeah. And we are seeing this right now with those demonstrations in Buenos Aires regarding the IMF debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the example. So China's investments in Cuba will send a very strong message to the rest of Latin America that you have a choice here. You go with the U.S. or you go with China.
To show how seriously this thing with Cuba is, once upon a time there were supposedly, I think there really were Russian missiles in, and the hawks in Washington said, okay, this is real provocation. Let's go to nuclear war with Russia. And John Kennedy stopped it.
Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, the hawks really take this very seriously. And we got just as big a hawks in Washington right now as we did then.
Yeah, and they can embark on some crazy stuff.
Oh, boy, can they.
Look no further than what they're doing in Ukraine right now. Yeah.
Terrible.
It is. All right.
Cherry Katori?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Why does the United States sanction Bangladesh?
Yeah.
I didn't know they did.
Yeah, they did. That has to do something also with China. Yeah, believe it or not, you sanction those countries. It's kind of it becomes now. It's almost like become numbing to hear. Oh, U.S. imposed sanctions.
Yeah.
Everybody now overseas shrug their shoulders. So what? That's it. Sanctions lost their effectiveness. So Bangladesh will circumvent that one way or another. And I don't know why they did that.
I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead, Ross.
Can I rightly assume that Bangladesh has a whole lot more commerce going on with China than the United States?
Exactly. Well, also because Bangladesh, believe it or not, it's a big market.
Is it really?
It's not as developed as you might think, but Bangladesh will be one of those countries where certain global manufacturers will allocate their operations into because cheap labor. You get very, very, very cheap labor. I mean, I read somewhere that by some estimates, people living on a $2 a day. But about that was a couple years ago, so I'm sure things have changed, but still a marketplace where labor is very
I was
cheap.
looking at some clothing that was made in Bangladesh.
Yeah, we do that. So
it's for real.
Yeah. So I don't know what will be the impact of
Ariel. Okay, here we go.
There you are, Ariel.
Do you think low Earth orbit is becoming a geopolitical theater? Okay, given the Tangong incident with the SpaceX constellation that almost crashed into it denounced by China.
That took the one I can answer about for sure that I know a little bit about is low orbit. Why low orbit is because that's where the hypersonic the testing came in, because that's on a low orbit aspects of it, which will become a very, very concerning to some countries like the US, for example. Why? Because they can't dominate the skies anymore. So that will be where the challenge will be. So it will be very interesting to see now what the US is going to react or respond to. I mean, we do have some hypersonic technology also. There are certain, as we always say, there is some arsenal stuff we have that will shock, surprise the world. That's to the extent of what we can share. But for something like what Ariel was referring to, it pertain, if I understand this correctly, has to do with the super hypersonic missile test that China conducted, because everything is on low orbits. No? Of course, when you take that into consideration, what's taken up in space, now we're talking about the dark side of the moon that China is exploring more. You're talking about Mars. You're talking about, there are geopolitical ramifications to all this, because who controls space or dominates space will dominate the outcome of a battle, military battle. So that's what it is. I hope I answer your question, Ariel.
Super sticker. Would you pronounce that for me?
Oh, that's Mohammed.
Mohammed.
Hold on. No, hold on. That's Mohammed Zuhairi, Mohammed Idris.
Okay.
Somebody helped me understand this one. When they write MOHD, that's a short for Mohammed. So thank you. I forgot the name of the viewer who explained that to me. Thank you so much, Mohammed Idris. We appreciate it.
Emery Chen.
Thank you very much, Emery Chen.
Expats in China. There seems to be two groups on YouTube, anti-China and non-anti-China. Which group is bigger and ascendant?
Wow, that's an interesting
We know the
question.
things that come to me are the predominance are pro-China, not anti-China.
But there are some anti-China. As a matter of fact, one time I read the comment. That was hilarious. It's one of our viewers just sharing the info. Said, hey, if you guys want to reach 1 million viewers, start doing anti-China stuff.
No.
But at the same time, anti-China, is it true or is it just fiction? Because I can speculate on things I don't know.
Right.
But if I am to know something, I'm gonna speak on it. It has nothing to do with China or any. If I find out through my research that China did something wrong, in whatever, I will report on it. So we won't shy away from that. But you're absolutely correct. In YouTube, at least in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing and hearing and watching, there are two camps.
Yeah.
For and against.
And some of the we hate China people are very popular. And they really move the opinion away from objective what's going on to let's just be afraid, let's hate them because they're all evil.
Then the question, Russ, becomes, is it the responsibility of the viewer?
It is.
That's, to me, common sense. I consume the news, for example, hypothetically. I don't watch TV, but hypothetically, if I am to listen to TV, media, is it their problem or is it mine for not verifying through other means the accuracy of the information? So it becomes on me.
Right.
Not them. They are doing what they're doing because they want the rating. They want to sell. They want whatever. So lies do sell. Drama does sell. This is why you see those two camps. Same for us. We decided we want the truth to the best of our knowledge. But if we come across verifiable information that something wrong was done, whether China, Russia, US, you name it, we're gonna report on it objectively as we know.
All right.
Yeah, that's usually how we do it.
I'd say that's always how we do it.
Exactly. But there are two camps.
There definitely are.
I am noticing this. It just
so that's a good observation. I hadn't thought about that before.
It is an interesting one. Ross.
Yeah, but now that you said it, I see the same thing. Oh, help me out here.
Oh, just Orbani.
Okay, Orbani. Massimiliano. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Massimiliano Orbani. If even America Finance had refused to withdraw investments from China, what hope is there really for the United States as it spirals more and more into inflation?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Another good
given we're gonna be releasing a video. Elizabeth took a lead on I want to share this with you. Took a lead on an interview we just had, and we had it with an incredible guy. His name is Greg Foss, somebody who's been in the business for over 30 years in finance stuff and understand, for example, the Bitcoin and the risks and all that stuff. His insight was very, very crucial. And Elizabeth asked this particular same question. pertaining to the link to what's going on financially to the inflation aspects of it, and why Bitcoin in this case will be a better alternative and option than any other thing. So we're gonna be, just watch out guys for this video, and make sure to watch it in full, because it was very interesting. I truly enjoyed it because the guy was straightforward.
The guy's a good thinker. He's really well experienced, and his presentation style is clear and understandable.
Yeah. So just to tie it back quickly here, yes, the idea of where the U.S. financial aspects are, there's a lot of changes coming down the pipe, and the U.S. is going to find ways of maintaining that financial dominance, of course.
Would you say it
once
again,
again? Mohammed Zuhairi, Mohammed Idris.
Oh, this is a good question and a sad question. How long do you think the war against Yemen is going to be? Seems that the Allied forces is disintegrating.
Wow. That's anytime the topic of Yemen comes up, I get emotional about it. It's because of what I saw and what I'm keeping up on what's going on in Yemen.
You were there, right?
Yes, I spent about 3 years back and forth. So or two and a half years or so. So I'm very familiar with it. Yeah, it's a shame on us, the West. When I say the West, I'm not referring just to the US, because UK is part, Germany is part. Did you not just find out that Germany sold about $9 billion of weapons in 2021 to none other than Egypt? And yet they will go behind the microphone and talk about human rights. How hypocritical that is. Yeah. So when I say the West, I'm referring to in Yemen, because we turn in a blind eye on what the Saudis and United Arab Emirates are doing. And also, we are not only blaming the West, you blame the Muslim countries as well. Shame on them for taking step back and just watching from the sideline. So where is this Muslim Brotherhood nonsense stuff, Because this is, as I always say, leadership, it matters when it matters.
Yeah.
Leadership is not about just peaceful time. It's also in a bad time. So where are the Muslim countries? Did any of them steps up? None. Zero. So it's shame on them. And that conflict has to end, because you get kids, they are dying from starvation.
I understand they're also now bombing hospitals.
Yeah.
They're indiscriminately just decimating the country.
It's sad. It's very sad.
Doc McNoob.
That's a nice one.
I love it. With the RCEP coming into effect on January 1st, do we foresee new rounds of U.S. sanctions against ASEAN signatory countries?
Yeah, and I think which country either just left or RCEP, either India, has to do with India and there. Yeah, it's going to be like we said last time. When Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, you give him the proper title, because that's his title. Secretary of State Tony Blinken, when he went to Southeast Asia, and he realized after the first stop in Indonesia, got a message that Malaysia is not willing in meeting with him. Thailand wasn't willing in meeting with him. And those countries, what do they share in common? They are key members in the ASEAN.
Yeah.
So ASEAN, as I always say, they are realizing what is the right path. Do I go and pursue prosperity, or do I go and join into the chaos and conflict?
Well, that's a hard choice.
It is a hard choice indeed. So I don't see, and yes, possibility that the U.S. could sanction some of them, because I already read somewhere about Malaysia. There are some tensions going on between Malaysia and the U.S. behind the scenes. I'm yet to figure out what that's all about, because none of them wants to trade with China, and the U.S. trying to push. It ain't gonna work. So one thing for sure, ASEAN is gonna stay neutral. That's what I believe.
Jackie and Son, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. I appreciate it. Yeah, that can always show up.
What do you think about future of Iraq? With U.S. combat mission ended, but troops remain, and collaboration with China to build 1,000 schools, what will Iran do to help?
That's an interesting question. First of all, the combat mission ended just on the surface. They always still have presence in Iraq behind the scenes. So Iraq, I sad to say, I spent a few years there, even though I was against the invasion from the get-go, because I know a little bit of history of that part of the world. As a matter of fact, Iraq, which most do not know, that's where the grammatical rules of the Arabic language were established.
Oh,
Yeah, Iraq it's no small, it's an old civilization. So one thing that I know for sure, Iraq is not going back to what it used to be. That era is gone. Where you could have, for example, non-Muslims, Christians, and whatever, they can coexist, it's gone. So as to Iran being inside Iraq, well, because the Shia majority also that exist in Shia minority rather that exist in Iran, in Iraq, Iraq and Iran, the proximity is so close, of course, but also they share this commonality as far as the Shia ethnic group or religious faction, whatever you want to call it. So Iraq is not going back to what it used to be because we turned it upside down. So, and I don't see how that's going to be ever fixed.
Journey to the East. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question. Satellite from SpaceX nearly collided with China's space station twice. My question is, are they intentional?
Yeah, that will be a problem if it is intentional. So, because I do believe China or any other country that has, it will protest something like this. And their space station, because they build in it.
Yeah.
So, and to me, if it is intentional, that showed the low level that whomever behind this has come to.
Yeah.
That's like when you deal with someone, if you lower your standards, what becomes of you? And the same thing, behaving like that instead of, they want to build their own space stations. Why are you sending satellites to collide with all that? And they're going to defend their interests. China in this case.
Right.
Because it's not a smart move. That's all I can say about this one. It's not a smart move if it is intentional. So.
Dips. Thank you.
Thank you.
Huge fan of your work. We appreciate that
very
much.
Now, there's a lot of our viewers appreciate what we do.
Village Idiot.
There it is. Good to see you, Village.
Every time you connect with us, I think this guy's not an idiot. His questions are too good. Let's do this one. Western media is consumed by 2/3 of the planet. China media is amateurish, ineffective. Will it affect countries joining BRI, purchase boycotting of Chinese product, Chinese allowance pacts?
No.
That's a pretty packed question with a lot of parts.
Yeah.
Could you put the question back up? Let's.
I remember it.
Okay.
So it's the idea of the first part. Let's talk about media. Western media versus Chinese media. Of course, the media is influenced by the culture itself.
Right.
There are those in the West that said, well, China could approach this way, but they are saying it from a Western perspective. It's not gonna represent or reflect the culture within China, and that's part of how they deal with things. So what works for us, it's not gonna work for them, and what works for them is not gonna work for us.
We spend a lot of time looking at the Chinese media, and I personally do not find them amateurish or ineffective. I find them clear. I find that they give definitive answers, and they respond appropriately and reasonably.
Yeah. So
I don't get that it's ineffective or amateurish.
Yeah. The second part, as far as whether the influence of this media is going to influence their decision whether to join BRI or not, to a degree. But, if you have smart leaders, like, for example, we'll take the example of Indonesia, the new PM there, that decided to revive the BRI projects by offering $1.9 billion projects, 20 projects to be exact.
Wow.
So why? Was he influenced by the media? I don't think so in this case. He was influenced by making sure the economic prosperity for what the Indonesian people has voted him into the office to do so. So that's what I believe it's going to be, because the consumption of media or the news, as I said earlier, it becomes on you, not them.
There's also the findings of Western media has lost its credibility.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I look at it just this morning, Ross. I found that an article published by Wall Street Journal saying that the current administration has no scandals. I mean, and if we are not to talk about just scandals, it has no issues per se. Well, how about if we take one example, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, how chaotic that was. And yet Wall Street Journal, with all its reputation, allow an article like that? You know, if I were the editor-in-chief, I would not allow it. But at the same time, I won't work for Wall Street anyway.
Right.
Wall Street Journal, that is. So that just becomes on the consumer to decide what right and what's not. You know, it's not their problem. It's the consumer's issue now.
Jonathan
Jonathan.
Fujitro.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your name right, honestly. What do you think of the U.S. selling F-15EX to Indonesia, the most advanced fighter variant to fight China threat, also giving BAE Systems of Britain to sell their most advanced frigates?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, right there, I mean, what do I think about it? First of all, Indonesia, was it Indonesia, right? Not Malaysia, Indonesia. So it's the idea of, you know, do they need to spend this kind of money on a military hardware versus economic opportunities? That's the first question.
Right. That's a good one, too.
Because that's, to me, what will be the objective under which you're going to evaluate and assess where do you want to move the country. You know, that will be the first one. Second one, you know, of course, the US and BAE in UK, what else do they have to offer them?
That's really the issue.
Yeah.
What else? They have nothing else to offer.
Yeah. Did they offer them to build them a speed train? No. Did they offer them to build, for example, manufacturers for some parts of planes or cars or whatever? No.
How about hospitals? How about schools? How about the entire infrastructure of a country that dramatically impacts the economy and the well-being of the people? No, let's sell them weapons.
Exactly. So it becomes on the government once again to decide.
Yep. DT, thank you.
Thank you, DT. Appreciate it.
Uh-oh. Good day, guys.
Good day.
This is the first time for me joining you all on a live chat. Great reporting, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, DT. Go ahead, Russ.
We will keep up the good work.
Indeed.
This is a labor of love.
Indeed. And I was going to say, Russ, that DT just put in a comment about, I think, 3 days ago or so, and I responded to it because I read DT's comments. So thank you for that, DT. We appreciate it.
Fahad Memnon?
Yeah,
Fahad?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Does the new Sino-Soviet alliance portray the foreign policy failure of the United States? Well, we got to answer that one. While the U.S. was adamant to decouple China and Russia, inadvertently, U.S. policy renewed their friendship.
It's laughable. Another question is laughable, the content of it, because it truly reflects the accuracy of the question. That's why I found that. Yes, indeed. The short answer is yes. It was the, as I always use the term, the ambiguous U.S. foreign policy that pushed China and Russia closer, and is pushing also Iran to the same camp. So that's ambiguity. That's one. Fragmentation. It's our U.S., our American foreign policy is fragmented. What I mean by fragmented is in a sense of it does not have a vision. There is no vision and there is no strategy, you know, because the individuals that work on the policy, they are delegating from an armchair in Washington, D.C. They have never been on the ground to understand.
And the political parties, the only places they agree on, what is it, $758 billion to national to weapons?
Yes.
I mean, of all the things to agree on, that's the wrong one.
Exactly, Russ. And this is where that foreign policy. So the question is perfect. And yes, the answer is yes. It's the U.S. fragmented foreign policy that led to this new geopolitical landscape that we are witnessing. and it's going to even be more as we move forward, because as of today, still, U.S. foreign policy needs a top to bottom review. And what I mean by a review, you're going to have to get rid of all the high-ranking officers in the State Department and replace all the old mentality. Doesn't cut it. The world has changed. The geopolitical landscape has shifted, and they're still living with the mindset of the Cold War mentality. The world is no longer the same way.
Yin Hao Kor. Greetings. How likely is it for China, Pakistan, Iran, and Russia to form their own Quad, or Fantastic Four, if you like, in terms of both economic and military cooperation in the future? Oh, what an interesting question.
Yeah. That will be an interesting one if that takes place. I don't see it happening, given the not only you take, for example, Pakistan and India, till they resolve their internal matters before they join in other countries. From a military perspective, oh yeah, it'll be powerful. NATO will stand no chance. I can tell you this, but I don't see it happening, and it won't happen. U.S. will not let it. It's not allowing it. Will not let it because they will create whatever. And second, Pakistan and India, I don't see them till the issue of Kashmir is resolved first. Till the issue of Afghanistan is settled. Then you get also India and China. They have to work out their differences regarding certain areas up in near the Tibet area.
Territorial disputes.
Territorial stuff needs to be worked out. Till those works out, and if they do, it will be a formidable and powerful alliance. As I said, NATO will stand no chance. So.
Cyril Luis, from 0 to 100, how probable do you think a Russian incursion into Ukraine is in 2022? Would Germany, France, and Turkey be militarily involved? Would Poland and the Baltics go without these three?
That's an interesting one. I will go with 30. From 0 to 1, I will be 30. I don't know why that number sticks in my mind. 30 based on what I'm seeing, because why I didn't say 50, for example, and this is my opinion, by the way, why I didn't say 50, it depends on what NATO and US does or do moving forward.
Yeah.
Here is a reason why Russia publicly disclosed the 8 points that NATO will have to agree on. There is a reason for that. And the reason is to put NATO under notice on a global level to see if they're going to truly want peace or they want to. And still till today, they have not responded to Russia. And it tells you right there. So Russia is hedging its bet on, let's see what NATO, when I say NATO, I'm referring to the US, they're going to do. And if they move military asset, advanced weapons, for example, on the border, Russia will move into Ukraine. As to Poland and Lithuania and all the, Poland will have to think twice. The one thing that I believe Russia will do in the case of Poland is just move nuclear-tipped missiles to the border with Poland. And we know, should there be a conflict, a military one, Poland will be burned quickly.
I was going to say quickly.
Yeah,
Right.
they're not gonna run a risk with that. So and that's what I see. So that's why I said 30. That's so far where I'm watching that closely, by the way. So
last one, because we have our presentation.
yes, yeah.
Last question.
Last question, guys, because we have to go prepare for the presentation that we need to do for our members.
Athene Wu. Many people are fed up with the fact the U.S. keeps printing money, which would export the inflation to the world. Yeah. Would there be a war if China dumps U.S. dollar and promotes an alternative currency?
That is an interesting one. That is an interesting question. And yesterday, Elizabeth mentioned that one with Greg and addressed that one. So just to remind you, make sure you guys watch that video when it's released. And the answer, yes. We, the United States, have that option as to military action to defend the supremacy of the US dollar. However, the consequences won't be pretty, and we have to gauge and assess, do we truly want to go that route? Because you're talking about a point of no return.
Oh yeah.
As to China dumping the US dollar, they are working on it slowly. And this is what, again, like we said during that interview, Bitcoin is going to play a role into this. This is why we saw the attack on El Salvador. It's because he's moving forward with the Bitcoin. Of course, there are naysayers to Bitcoin that they don't want to hit it, whatever. That's beside the point. Reality will dictate what's going to go into this. So, well, thank you, guys. We wanted to truly say thank you to you for this session because we do have to go prepare for our presentation. We look forward to seeing you on Friday. We're doing live stream for the end of the year. So make sure to join us. It will be an interesting one. That's all we want to say about that one. So, yeah, we're going to do that. Also, remember to join us on Locals at geopolitics.locals.com. And also check out our membership at geopoliticsinconflict.com. Speaking of I just wanted to remind our viewers, for those who have not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe as we keep the numbers going up for our subscription. So
thank you for
in the last
subscribing.
word, Ross.
Thank you for viewing.
Yeah.
And have a nice new year.
Okay. And as always, guys, stay informed. Till next time.